Hey everyone, welcome back to the Simple English Podcast. I'm Lisa, and today I'm going to share something very personal and exciting with you all. If you're trying to improve your English listening skills, just like I was a few years ago, this episode is for you. I want to take you on a little journey of how I transformed my English listening through podcasts, and I'll give you tips that you can try yourself. Trust me, I've been there. I know how hard it can feel when you listen to native speakers and don't understand much at all. But guess what? With a few changes, I made huge progress, and so can you. So grab your headphones and let's dive in. All right, let's start with a little background. When I first started learning English, I could read pretty well, and I knew some basic words. But whenever I tried listening to a conversation in English, especially with native speakers, it was like, I don't know, they were speaking way too fast. Does that sound familiar? If you're struggling with this right now, you are not alone. So, what changed for me? Well, it all started when a friend suggested I try listening to podcasts. I didn't think it would help much at first because in my mind, podcasts were just people talking really fast, right? But I decided to give it a try anyway. That one small decision made a huge difference. The first thing I learned was to choose the right podcast. It's important to start with something at your level. I began with podcasts that were made for English learners, not native speakers. I remember finding a podcast called Learn English with Stories, where the hosts would speak clearly, not too fast, and often explain things along the way. It wasn't overwhelming, and I could actually follow the conversations. One tip I found helpful was listening to the same episode multiple times. At first, I would listen without reading anything, just to see how much I could catch. Then, I'd listen again, but this time, I would have a transcript in front of me. Podcasts like BBC Learning English often have transcripts available. I could listen and read along at the same time, which really helped me connect the words to their sounds. Another important thing I did was make it a daily habit. This is key. I didn't just listen once a week or whenever I felt like it. Every day I would listen to at least one short podcast. For example, I used to listen during my commute to work. I'd put on my headphones and play a 10-minute episode on my way to the bus stop. Even on days when I felt tired or didn't think I had time, I would fit in those 10 minutes. And the funny thing is, the more I did it, the more I wanted to listen. It became part of my routine. A huge turning point for me was when I started choosing topics I enjoyed. At first, I thought I had to listen to educational podcasts all the time. But then I discovered podcasts about topics I actually liked, things like travel, food, and personal stories. There was one podcast about people sharing their travel experiences around the world. It was in English, but because I was interested in the topic, I didn't mind if I didn't understand every word. The excitement of learning something new kept me motivated, and eventually I started understanding more without even trying so hard. One last tip I want to share is that I learned to be okay with not understanding everything. When I first started, I wanted to know every single word. But you don't have to. Sometimes I would catch the main idea, even if I didn't understand every word. And that's fine. With podcasts, the more you listen, the better you get at guessing the meaning of new words from context. Over time, your brain gets used to hearing English, and you start understanding more and more naturally. Here's a fun fact that I found super encouraging. Did you know that our brains are actually wired to learn languages by listening? It's true. Studies show that our brains are constantly making connections between the sounds we hear and the words we already know. So, the more you listen to English, whether through podcasts, music, or conversations, the better your brain gets at recognizing patterns and sounds. It's like training your brain to become a better listener without you even realizing it. So even if you feel like you're not understanding much at first, your brain is still working in the background to help you improve. Pretty cool, right? So if you're like me and want to improve your English listening, start with podcasts. Find one at your level, listen to it daily, and pick topics that genuinely interest you. Don't stress about understanding every single word. Just keep listening. Little by little, you'll start to notice big improvements. And remember, language learning is a journey. It takes time, but if you make it enjoyable, you'll get there. I hope my story has inspired you to give podcasts a try as a tool to improve your English listening skills. It worked for me, and I'm sure it can work for you too. If you have any favorite podcasts or tips of your own, feel free to share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your experiences. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Keep practicing and happy listening. Now it's time to learn some important vocabulary related to the topic. The first word of today is transcript. It means a written or printed version of spoken language. Example, I read the transcript of the podcast while listening to it, which helped me understand more. Next word is commute. It means the regular travel between one's home and place of work or school. Example, I listened to a podcast during my commute to make use of the travel time. Next word is fluent. It means able to speak or write smoothly, easily, or readily in a language. Example, after listening to English podcasts regularly, I became more fluent in the language. Next word is overwhelming. It means something that is too much to handle or feels overpowering. Example, at first, listening to native speakers was overwhelming because they spoke too fast. Next word is motivated. It means having a strong reason or desire to do something. Example, choosing topics I enjoyed kept me motivated to continue listening and learning. Next word is routine. It means a regular way of doing things in a particular order. Example, I made listening to English podcasts part of my daily routine. Next word is context. It means the circumstances or background information that help clarify the meaning of something. Example, even if I didn't understand every word, the context of the conversation helped me figure it out. Next word is native speaker. It means a person who speaks a language as their first language. Example, I struggled to understand native speakers at first, but podcasts helped me improve. The last word of today is progress. It means movement forward toward improvement or a goal. Example, I made a lot of progress in my English listening skills by practicing with podcasts every day. Thank you for listening to our episode of the Simple English Podcast. I hope you learned something new and helpful today. Please give us a like and subscribe for video like this. Share it with your friends, and let us know what you think in the comments section below. We'll be back with more interesting discussions soon.